Welcome to Tech Abilities, produced live in the Blind Abilities studio. I want to thank all of you for listening and for sending in your feedback. It's well appreciated. And if you want to send us some feedback, give us a call at 612-367-6093. Leave a message. We'd love to hear from you. Or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the tech tidbits and news that we cover in this episode. So without further ado, let's get this show started.
A lot of places are moving towards on-demand trainings. I'm super excited to see that there's a resource that's accessible.
Everybody on Twitter was talking about this. It's a great feature. The holdback to it is people have to opt in to the text reminders.
Toast with peanut butter on it, and then I'll take like blueberries, and I'll do it in Braille. I do the alt text.
It's super cute. I like that. I take screenshots by accident all the time. All the time.
God knows what I've eaten since I've lost my vision here.
You're still alive, so you're good.
And I would hate to see you miss out on opportunities. Experience is the best teacher. So go on out there and experience.
Hey, there's your title. Bunnies, elephants, and rabbits.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Bada bing.
Bada bing.
Oh, bada bing. I like it. Well, should we just roll?
Sure.
Roll with it, baby.
Live from the Blind Ability Studios, I'm Jeff Thompson, and this is Tech Abilities. And with me in the studio, we have Serena Gilbert. Serena, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mr. Thompson. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. Actually, not bad for how scorching hot it is.
I feel like we always have weather.
Well, it is kind of scorching. Well, you're in Colorado. You never have bad weather, do you?
Of course not. Never.
But you like this stuff.
I love the heat. I absolutely love it.
Let's go all the way down to Miami, where the heat is, well, the Miami heat. Callie Gray, how you doing?
Hey, Jeff, doing well, man. The heat is on, as it is in a lot of the country. We haven't gotten to the triple digits technically. Our highs have been around 96, 97, but the heat index, they say, is like 104.
Oof.
Yeah, so it's been very hot. I've enjoyed the comfort of air conditioning this week.
I bet you everybody knows that one. Blind Abilities, we did some interviews. Simon Bonifant, who attended the NFB convention down there in New Orleans, where it is hot. Well, everywhere is hot. But there was a company that he interviewed, and it's Clusiv. And Lucas was on talking about his stuff that they do, and they put programs together and courses together that does the training for someone to actually get employment. And that's the goal of it. And there's all sorts of different modules that you can take and one big giant course where they go through Microsoft, Google, all the stuff that we know that someone should know. What's your thoughts about that, Serena?
So I think it's kind of the future of training. A lot of places are moving towards on-demand trainings. I'm super excited to see that there's a resource that's accessible, because sometimes when there's on-demand trainings created, they're not created with accessibility in mind. I haven't personally gotten to kind of take the courses and things like that. I just hope that they go into enough detail and that they're kept up to date, because we know the Google Workspace and Microsoft Teams workspaces, they change almost week to week with new features and things that they add and increasing accessibility. So I just hope they keep them up to date.
Callie, this must seem appealing to you a bit.
It does. After I listened to the interview that Simon did, it piqued my interest very much, where I wanted to reach out to my vocational rehab counselor to inquire about it. I have not yet done that because, as you guys know, I finished my VR last week at the Miami Lighthouse. I was thinking if this would have been a better tract for me instead of going to the Lighthouse. And I'm not sure about it because the Lighthouse did offer me interaction with other blind people as opposed to sitting in my office and going through these modules on my own. But I'm a learner who learns better when I get to work at my own pace and just dig in and do the work. So I'm not sure where I stand on it, but I think it's a very interesting concept. And then, like Serena says, it's probably the way of the future.
Well, I think it could be used to supplement maybe as well, because there's another software program that I know Colorado VR has invested in called Trainingware. And it's another accessible platform where they're using it as a way to supplement what the kind of one-on-one instruction is doing, to follow up and maybe practice like what you've learned. Or if it's someone like you, Kelly, where it's like, if you teach me some of these things, I can get out and run with it, so that then you can have that self-paced option as well, like kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I had to dig in on my own a lot because my time at the Miami Lighthouse were 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I felt I needed more. I needed to dig in every single day. So I kind of supplemented my education at the Lighthouse by taking Freedom Scientific webinars. And that really helped me get better with JAWS. So I just needed that. Instead of 2 days a week, I really needed to dig in each and every day. And sometimes when you're sitting by yourself, you can't think of anything to do that day with the program that you are trying to learn. So having those Freedom Scientific webinars really helped me along.
I do really like their webinars, especially they've been making an effort to do ones on the Google products and Microsoft Teams and things like that, which I don't know any employers that don't use one or the other anymore. So it's really important to learn the collaborative kind of online virtual versions of all these different products.
Yeah.
And I know if you follow Freedom Scientific on Facebook or on Twitter that you can find out when they have these clubhouse things. Callie, you attend those twice a week. So there's lots of interaction right now that you can partake in if you're interested in that type of thing. The thing about Clusiv to me is, sure, it's probably the way of the future, like you said, Serena. I like the idea. I thought there's always should have been something like this long ago. The other component that I don't think you can learn online is the soft skill area. Greeting people, interacting with people. Like Callie, you said that the Lighthouse offered some of that. Meeting peers, having dinner, mobility. So I don't think it's going to overtake all the training that we get at the Adjustment to Blindness Training Centers. I do think there is a good place for this, especially now that the pandemic has shown us that working from home, we all know what it's like to attend events or work on something from home. So I think timing is everything, and I think Clusiv is here. And Callie, you sent me something that I knew it was coming, and now it's here. Adding the reminder for alt text in your Twitter feed.
Yes. Everybody on Twitter was talking about this. Like Blind Twitter was very ecstatic last week once the tweet was sent out by Twitter A11Y about this new feature being rolled out. And I think it's a great feature, but I still think the holdback to it is people have to opt in to receiving the text reminders. And I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm wondering how many people are actually going to opt into it. Or is it going to be one of those things where it pops up, and because you get the option to say not now or no, I'm not going to do it. So I'm just not sure how far wide it will spread. I do hope more people use it, but I just don't know.
Well, and the thing that happens too with Twitter, especially with like the bigger companies, is they're not necessarily going to twitter.com to send their posts out. They're using third-party scheduling software that they program, and then they just go out on a schedule or whatever the case may be. So that's another piece of it. Because like, when you're scrolling through and if you actually click into the tweet, you can see if it was done like with Twitter for iOS or Twitter web app or Sprout Social or Hootsuite, those sorts of things. And if those third-party platforms don't integrate the reminder for alt text, because they all do allow you to add the alt text, but it's not obvious, then we're still going to see the same barriers come about.
That's good to know. I did not realize that, Serena.
You were talking about the Daily Show and their alt text or lack of it. I wonder how far up the food chain that person even knows what you're talking about.
I know. God, I'm surprised you even saw those tweets. I'm just trying to get them to make their images accessible. Obviously, the video clips that they post are accessible because it's Trevor Noah talking. But there are images that they send out that are very funny, because on one of the images, I tweeted the Daily Show and said, hey, I'd really love to be in on the joke here, but I have no idea what's in this image. And a follower of the Daily Show actually wrote like an image description for me. And I actually laughed out loud at what it was. So
that was really nice of them.
Yeah, I just really hope that more people, especially corporations, use image descriptions.
I've been doing these Brailleberry things. It's kind of silly.
It's super cute. I like it.
Toast with peanut butter on it, and then I'll take like blueberries and I'll do it in Braille. Like I did peace, I did love, I did hot. It's kind of neat. I do the alt text, and my toast is usually cooled down by then. I'm like,
By the time that you remember what you wrote on it.
Your toast is cold.
Maybe just set a note that says, this is what you wrote on it, and then post it later.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I started to do. Instead of putting peanut butter and jelly, I figured, what is jelly? It's just berries, right? So I took the berries and just smashed them down onto the peanut butter.
A little healthier.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
How does it taste?
It tastes great.
It does? Okay, I'll take your word for it.
It tastes fresh.
You should try cream cheese on it and then the berries.
On toast?
Cream cheese. Yeah. Trey eats cream cheese and jelly sandwiches all the time. And I've had cream cheese and cookie butter, and that is delicious too. Like the whipped cream cheese. Yeah.
You guys are drifting away from this healthy little meal that I kind of...
Well, whipped cream cheese is probably healthier than the peanut butter. We have to look it up. But
oh, yeah, I suppose.
Well, healthiness depends on personal health considerations. Based on a 2,000-calorie diet, one serving of whipped cream cheese has 70 calories and has 20% of the FDA's daily recommended intake of saturated fat and 2% of the daily recommended intake of sodium. But it also has 1.8 grams of monounsaturated fat. One serving of peanut butter has 190 calories and has 3.4 grams of sugar, including 1.8 grams of added sugar and 16% of the FDA's daily recommended intake of saturated fat.
It's definitely lighter.
Well, it was just something simple, but I did it in Braille, and it seems like a lot of people were really interested in it, and it was kind of a crossover. This is something that I would put on my personal Facebook rather than just blind abilities or the community stuff.
I'm curious, Jeff, do you take the pictures yourself or do you get Ira to help you? Like, how do you get good pictures?
So I just set the paper plate there, then I just lift straight up and then take the picture.
Because I've always had trouble getting things centered because the camera is not centered on the phone. So,
which reminds me, in iOS 16, they're going to have a new feature in the Photos app where it'll go through and remove duplicate pictures. I think that's awesome because have you ever hit the button and it went, whoops.
I take screenshots by
accident. Oh, yeah, screenshots.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All the time.
I had the 2-finger back tap set for screenshots at one point. And then one day I was walking to the mailbox and I had my phone on a lanyard around my neck and I have breasts. So when I walk, the phone would just bounce off the breast, and I just hear click, 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 click. Oh my God.
At least you can identify them now, because like in iOS 15, how they improved the image recognition stuff, at least you can tell like, okay, I can delete this.
Yeah. So like when I got back from the mailbox, there were like all these screenshots. I just delete, because iOS, it will tell you it's a screenshot. So I'm like, okay, let me just get rid of all of these. I'm like, this is so annoying.
That's so funny.
So I removed that back tap shortcut. So I got to figure out what I'm going to use the back tap shortcut for in the future.
But now you have to make sure it's safe, that it's not going to like embarrass you. Like if it's like, I don't know what you would use it for, but it could cause that to keep activating.
I know.
I am in accessibility under the touch category. So in touch, back tap just happens to be the very last one of this version of iOS. So let's do a 4-finger tap near the bottom.
Double or triple tap on the back of your iPhone to perform actions quickly.
And that's the description of back tap. So let's swipe back, single finger, right to left once.
Back tap on button.
And there we are. Now let's single finger double tap.
Double tap, none.
So once again, single finger double tap.
None.
And the cursor defaults to none. But if you swipe single finger left to right, you'll go through a bunch of these settings. However, if you switch your rotor to headings,
characters, headings,
then you can navigate through this list by headings. Now that we're set to headings, you can flick up or down until you get to shortcuts.
Accessibility, heading, scroll gestures, heading, shortcuts, heading.
There we are. And now I'm going to go swipe down to read text.
Read text.
With just a single finger double tap.
Selected, read text.
I've just set up my double tap option for back tap to read text.
Or I'm just like, especially when I'm out and about, or if I'm out on the porch, like just tapping the back, like, just that fidgety kind of thing, like I could see that like causing it too. And then I remember when they first had it come out, a lot of people were saying it would just activate itself just simply sitting the phone down on a countertop or something.
Yeah.
Serena, going back to the camera and taking the picture, when I use a white paper plate, my stovetop is black. It goes centered, right, centered. So it actually thinks there's a face there or something. So
so it figures it out.
Yeah. And then
that's good.
Take the picture. No one's complained so far, so that's good.
It's good.
Well, it's all blind people. So no, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to. And you should post those to the Blind Abilities Twitter feed, Jeff. I think people would get a kick out of that.
I have been, but I make sure that all text is in there.
On the Twitter
Thank you.
feed, I haven't seen them there. Okay, maybe I'm just behind.
Facebook. I'm sorry, Facebook.
Okay.
I'll have to go back in and give it a shot.
Blind abilities, public. Braille berries. Blueberries arranged on toast with peanut butter, as Braille dot spelling, peace.
And then, of course, the alt text attached to the photo.
Photo, peanut butter on toast with blueberries spelling out, peace. The blueberries are representing Braille dots. This is on a paper plate.
So stay tuned for the Braille berries on Twitter as well.
I request boysenberries next time, please.
Ooh, boysenberry.
I don't even know what a boysenberry actually is.
Well, I get the wild berries or the blackberries, the raspberries or the blueberries.
From Costco.
No, I can't eat that much that fast.
Those blueberries from Costco are good for a long time.
They
And they're
are.
huge.
I don't know how they get such good priority.
I know.
Seems like some stores you get home with them, and if you don't eat them within 2 days, it's like check for mold.
Especially strawberries.
I was at the cash register, and the one lady said, "Do you want me to go return this one and grab you a different one?" I said, "Why?" She says, "There's a little bit of mold on this one."
That was nice of her.
Aw.
Yeah, and she just took off, came back. It's Bob's Produce Ranch. A little shout out to Bob's Produce Ranch right up the road here in Freely, Minnesota.
That's awesome.
It's a small place, but anything you buy there, you're going to eat that day.
It's super fresh.
That's how fresh the market is. How do we tell if the berries have mold on them? We don't. We can't. It's interesting. And if you want to tell us how you make sure that your berries are fresh and mold-free, give us a call at 612-367-6093. We'd love to hear from you.
I mean, when it's blueberries, I guess you can't really tell when there's mold on, but you can definitely tell when they've gone south.
Nothing against Miami, but
Same with strawberry.
Yeah, when they're really soft.
when I'm buying berries, I want them gone in a few days. You buy them fresh, you put them in the fridge, and first thing I do when I open them for the first time, I run cold water over them, rinse them off real good, because they do have drain holes in the packaging, the plastic packaging, and that's the start of it.
Did you know that makes them mold faster?
The moisture.
Yes. I just rinse mine as I go and then towel them off before I put them in whatever I'm about to eat.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
You take out what you're going to use and you rinse them off.
Mm-hmm.
If you have them just in that container, that water is just going to sit there in the dark, cold fridge and it's going to grow mold way faster.
Oh man, this isn't a Stephen King type of fruit situation.
Here's something I found on the web. According to 247moms.com, don't wash fruits prior to putting in the fridge. Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Well, when you're in a single household like I am, 2 days is not viable. So when I buy blueberries for my oatmeal, it's got to last for 5 days. And I do like Serena does. I take out a handful and I wash them off and I paper towel them dry.
You do the exact same thing
Yeah,
I do.
and then I add them to the oatmeal as I go. But fresh fruit in my house, it's got to last for like 5 days at least.
And blueberries, honestly, are usually good for a couple weeks.
Yeah, the organic ones are so good. And strawberries.
Huge. I love them.
Yeah, strawberries.
Strawberries are hit or miss. It could be one day, it could be 10. You just never know.
Yeah. But when the Instacart order comes and if I open up the strawberry package and I feel them like, okay, these are going to last for a little while.
You
I
can
can just tell.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can tell.
Well, when you can't see, you don't know if it's just soft and dark red or if it's soft and green.
God knows what I've eaten since I've lost my vision here.
I'm sure, you're still alive, so you're good.
The only thing I know I haven't done is like drank sour milk because I will sniff
can
that
tell that.
before, before pouring that. But milk doesn't last too long in my household. And I know from a previous podcast, Serena, that you think milk is gack.
It's disgusting. I'll eat ice cream and obviously things that like I'll drink a milkshake, but anything milk that's just straight milk, even if it's chocolate or strawberry, it's disgusting. My mom said even when I was a baby, I had to be on soy milk. So I think I just don't like it.
No.
It's funny though. You said like I've probably eaten some things. I remember we had someone in my office that was visually impaired and he was about to eat this yogurt that very clearly had mold. And like once it was like a green pepper or something. And one of the girls was like, no, stop. Like she was so disgusted.
Whoa.
She was like, I almost threw up in the trash. He would ask like, when does this yogurt expire? And they'd be like, it expired a week ago. And he's like, I'm like, no, like I don't mess with dairy. If it says it's expired, like yogurt, cheese, nothing, I will not eat it. I know what they say about those dates, especially yogurt. I don't know if you've had anyone like read you the sell by date.
Mhm.
Like if I buy yogurt today, it's usually good for like a month.
Whoa, a month?
Yeah, they're good for a long time. You'd be surprised.
Are you talking about the small packs or the large pack?
Well, we've got both. They're both good for a long time. So like we usually buy like Chobani protein, like the single serve ones. Like, I don't know what they're good for right now in the fridge, but it's usually 3 to 4 weeks out.
When you open up the lid of a larger one, I think the shelf life's a little less.
But once that one's open,
yeah,
you've got to be careful. But I'm talking about more the single serve ones like the Yoplait and things like that. If it's expired, it's been out in the world a while.
Yeah.
The other thing with yogurt, you take the lid off. Remember to stir it. You got to stir it because the liquid surfaces. And if you just kind of like tip it, it's like, wait a second, what was that?
You pour your yogurt. What are you doing in your kitchen?
Well, no, if you're going to scoop something into a bowl, instead of lifting straight up and then going to the right and then straight down, like you're getting those little stuffed animals with the crane, I kind of tip the yogurt to the side and kind of pull it out.
This is very interesting to me. A tub of yogurt doesn't last long in our house, though. Like if we buy the 32-ounce one, I usually make smoothies with it, and it only makes like 3 or 4 smoothies. So if all 3 of us have a smoothie, it's gone.
I had to use Ira in May because I did an Instacart shop and I got some Panera soup delivered.
I love their soup. It's
from the supermarket. It wasn't from Panera.
The cold section.
Yes, the cold one.
It's still really good.
Yeah. And as I was putting it away, I felt in the back of the refrigerator that there was another Panera soup bowl back there. And I'm like, I wonder, when did I buy this? So I was in the mood for soup for dinner that night. So I'm like, let me call Ira, because obviously if this one is in there first, I should eat it first and leave the other 3 there.
I can see the agent now. No, that's a chia pet.
So,
do not eat this, Miss Callie.
This was in May. And I'm like, can you just tell me what the expiration date for this? And dude was like, it was like February. I'm like, oh, so this is in the back of the refrigerator since February. I'm like, good job.
Because I don't think those are good as long. I think that's probably about a 2-week window, I would guess. Because I think they're pretty fresh because it's in the cold section.
Yeah, they are so good. That Panera tomato soup is so good.
You're going to laugh. Every Wednesday, we eat Panera for lunch. Every Wednesday.
Oh, really? Every Wednesday? I thought you said every day. I'm like, man, she's eating Panera every day.
No, every Wednesday. So I had it today, actually.
Oh, my goodness.
What's really nice to do is to actually go through your fridge and pull out the dressings, the mayonnaise, the Miracle Whips and all that stuff, and get Ira or someone that can see, blah, 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 whatever suits you, and go through the expiration dates, because that stuff just kind of hangs out.
Sneaks up on
Yeah, and also ketchup, does that expire? Oh yeah, it does. You know, they say it does.
Usually like a year and a half.
But I don't keep my ketchup in the refrigerator though. My ketchup stays in the cupboard. You don't have to refrigerate ketchup.
It says refrigerate after opening.
It does not.
We're gonna have to test this now.
I guarantee you it does not. It does not say that.
I'm gonna need you to ask Google.
Here's something I found on the web. According to deliciousmagazine.co.uk, store in a cool, dark place and, once opened, refrigerate. The ketchup will keep well for up to 2 months.
Please tell me you keep your mayonnaise in the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah. The mayonnaise goes, that one definitely says you have to, and I know that's egg and vinegar and stuff like that. So that has to be refrigerated. But ketchup, when you have like fresh French fries, you don't want to dip it in cold ketchup.
Oh, that doesn't bother me.
No, but
I've always put it in the fridge.
When we open it, we always put ours in the fridge.
No, I always keep my ketchup in the cupboard.
When you think about it, at the ballparks and at the McDonald's, I don't see them packing ice around the ketchup.
Well, see, and I always thought that it was gross, but then I also thought the volume at which they go through it, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah. You can call Ira, get your ketchup bottles out, call Ira, or have somebody in your household who has sight look at it.
And go through like your cold medicines, all that other stuff.
That stuff does expire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to watch that stuff.
And it is less effective. There's some stuff you can still take expired. It's just less effective. But one that our doctor has always said not to use expired is the allergy meds, because they won't really do anything if they're expired.
Yeah, I actually sat down with Ira in February or the beginning of the year and cleaned out my medicine cabinet. I had them sit down and go over the expiration dates. And I was surprised by the amount of stuff that I actually had to
And then you look like
out.
You're some kind of like druggie or something.
It's like, oh my God.
There's so many on the counter when you're done. Well, and it's probably the cold medicine because, we've had a household where one of us was sick prior to COVID, like 3 times a year. I haven't had a major cold in 2.5 years now. So we have this cold medicine that's just, I take allergy medicine almost every day. But as far as like the leaf cold and sinus and stuff, stuff that, when you get a cold, you go through probably 8 to 10 pills of that at a time. I haven't had to use that in a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, I bought some Aleve, and I bought it from Amazon, and it was like a 2-pack. And
that's a lot of Aleve.
Yeah. And it was much cheaper than buying it from Instacart, even, with the 2-pack. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it was 240 tablets
and each one
per bottle. So I had like 480 tablets of Aleve.
You must have thought you were really going to be in pain.
Oh my gosh. Because I usually buy the 100 count when I order it from Instacart. But I look at this price on Amazon. I'm like, good Lucy, I could get, 2 bottles for the price of one if I order it from Amazon. And that's what I did. And it was like, I look like a drug dealer here. Got 480.
Did it expire on you or
no,
were you able to?
No.
Good.
No.
She's feeling really good. Daily.
That was actually my favorite pain reliever. And now I use the Tylenol has this like quick release, like rapid release one that works really well. Like if you have a headache and you take it, it releases into your system probably within like 15 minutes of taking it. So it's nice.
Tylenol does nothing for me. Whenever I have a headache, I use a goody powder. So
I've heard of that too.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I use. And it's gone in like 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the goody part.
It's really good because it won't interact with like meds as much as Tylenol and stuff will.
The thing with me is I do not like the feeling of pain pills. Like if you have surgery or something and they give you pain pills, I do
not
narcotics. I do not like narcotics. And unless wisdom tooth or something like that, where the nerve is like connected right to the brain, up there. Kind of like going to a Pink Floyd concert. Comfortably numb.
Oh my gosh, I have to share about Red Rocks in Halsey. It's an accessibility related thing, I promise. Okay. So I'm not sure if people are familiar with like Red Rocks. I can never say this word right. Amphitheater. It's so hard to say.
Amphitheater.
It's not AMPA though. It's AMPHA. Like if you look at the spelling of it, I thought for years it was amphitheater and that is not how it's spelled. Anyway, I felt really stupid when I realized it. But we've talked about this in the past because Kelly, you got to purchase accessible tickets when you went to Chris Rock, I believe. Mm-hmm. And Red Rocks, like it's so cool. They do accessibility right. So when you go to purchase the accessible tickets, first of all, the site's accessible to do it, which is a bonus. And their accessible tickets are in rows 1 and 2 of the theater. It's not like, section 305, and you get the accessible tickets for the same price you would pay for general admission, which was like $60 a piece. So we got second row tickets for $60 a piece. If you go and someone's driving, make sure that you have the accessible placard because then they let you park in like the special parking lot and they do check to make sure it's your placard. They check it against your ID, which I never even knew they could, but it has like the last 4 digits of your Colorado ID on there. Good to know. And then there's like almost like a paratransit bus that takes you from that parking lot all the way down to where the stage is. And then you get to go into a separate, like a special ticketing thing. There's no line. They just scan you in and then you're at the stage. And then after you sit down, they make sure you're you and that you actually need the accessible seats. And then they give you a wristband and they take your order for food and drinks and then bring it out to you. So cool. We felt like VIP.
Oh, wow.
They do it right.
Specials. Get your specials.
They really do it right. It was so nice.
Oh my goodness. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I wish everyone did it like that.
No, when I went to go see Chris Rock, he was at Hard Rock Live. Mm-hmm. We walked through, I think it was 2 or 3 casinos before we actually got to the theater. Oh, wow. So there's like no way, that would happen there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you have a disabled plaque?
Yeah, so you can get them where they're portable. Uh-huh. So we don't have like it on the license plate. You can get them where it's 2 placards. You can get up to 2 and you can carry it with you. Or if you have a companion that, typically rides with you, they can keep it in the vehicle. So it's easier. In Colorado, you have to have your doctor fill out a form that just says that there's some sort of physical disability that makes it difficult for you to be able to walk like further. And for me, it's like, if it's dark outside, it's really hard to walk through a whole parking lot, even with assistance. Yeah. And in Colorado, you only have to get that form filled out every 9 years. Wow. And then the placards are good for 3 years at a time.
Because it's so interesting because some of my friends were asking me if I had a disability placard. Mm-hmm. So when I'm driving with them and like when we went to the concert to park in the handicap spots or when my friends are taking me anywhere to park in a handicap accessible space.
Exactly.
I kind of felt like, no, I don't have a disabled placard. I don't own a car? And am I disabled? Because I kind of like think disability for those spaces are for people in wheelchairs because of like the wide ramp and things like that. I felt guilty about even trying to inquire for one.
I would highly encourage
and I
it.
did not inquire for one.
Well, it's helpful too, especially when I had Weston. It was easier to get him in and out. But it's also helpful because, I mean, sometimes those spots are really small and without vision, like sometimes there's a car very, very close to you and you don't really recognize that sometimes. And less parking lot to try to maneuver through and stuff. I've had it for years. I can't even remember when I got the first one, and they're free.
Yeah.
You know, they don't charge you for them.
Well, you may, nudge me to actually apply for it.
Don't just delve into it.
No.
A little more than a delve.
I would Google it because in Colorado, the first time you do have to get it in person. But then after that, I was able to just renew it online and they sent out new ones.
I could see where it would be useful because like when we're in a parking lot, to get those first couple of spaces would be so much better because when someone is guiding me and I'm using a sighted guide, I'm always wary of like cars pulling out, backing up and things like that. It just makes me nervous. So it'd be very good to just hop out of the vehicle, be right there and just be able to go in. So I will. Yeah, I'm not going to delve into it, Jeff. I'm actually going to look at, but like, I'm glad Serena brought that up because I just didn't feel I deserved that or should, even try for that.
No, there's a variety because there's always been this debate because people are just mean sometimes. Why do you have this? You don't have a disability. Like I've never experienced that, but I've heard of other people because they'll be like, you don't have a disability. And it's like, you don't know my story. This person getting out of this vehicle with this accessible placard could have a brain injury that makes them dizzy sometimes. Like it's none of your business why they have that placard.
And just because someone can drive a car doesn't mean they can do sighted guide very well.
Yep.
Sometimes people should just stick to driving.
And I'm sorry, as I was telling a friend when I went to this concert, I was like, one of the few advantages of me having this disability is I got to have these accessible tickets. And when we go somewhere, there's so many things that are taken away from us. Like I'm going to take this privilege when I can. So I don't know, Jeff, do you use, you and Lori, do you have some accessible placards too?
I had one years ago and I never really used it and it expired and stuff. And I didn't look into getting it mainly because I had, at that time, my kids were starting to get their driver's license and then Lori's kids were. So we had a period of probably 10, 15 years of drivers in a sense. Where I did use it is when I was using friends and other people. So it wasn't of a inconvenience for them to do it. So it worked out good then. But after we started having the kids driving and stuff like that, I didn't really need it because, I was low vision most of that time. And Lori RP, now it's different today, but we haven't really thought about it because we're empty nesters now and there is no cars. So we're in the Cali situation.
No one is in the Cali situation, Jeff.
Do you guys use like Uber and Lyft more or trains or?
I use Uber more than anything right now. But then again, who's going out? I mean, they just had the conventions and in-person meetings are starting up again like that. But I tell you what, it hasn't been a problem right now because I use Uber so few times and it's so convenient and have groceries delivered too. And then once a month, we do have the son come up and we do make the big haul to the big brick and mortar Sam's Club or something
to get
like that.
Some bigger things.
Well, you were at the Apple store the last podcast, so someone drove you there, right?
Yeah, Katie did. Our daughter, we went there. They all went one way. I went the other.
I'm just curious, just speaking from the blindness perspective here, when you go to a mall, is it a big mall? Is it a strip mall? Because I'm just trying to figure out how anyone who's blind can navigate a mall.
I would never disencourage someone from exploring. Malls are very interesting. First of all, where does public transit drop you off? Where do the trains, where do the buses go to? The Mall of America, there's two different locations for that. There's more of a Uber drop-off zone, and then there's where the trains and buses come in at. That's another spot. So once you get those points down, and then you enter the mall, at that point, what store is that? What's nearby? That will be your reference point. For when you leave, you can go back to that reference point and then go back to your transit area for pickup. And you can use that as a reference point, that same store. Say it's Macy's. From Macy's, where do you go to get to this other store? So these are reference points. What floor are you on? And typically on a mall, you want to travel the outside edge. But believe me, the Mall of America is very convoluted and it can get quite interesting. Let's just leave it as that. But the mall we're talking about here is a smaller mall. It's shaped like a very long capital letter I in a sense, where the stores are all on the outside perimeters and you're in the middle, usually on the right and the left with kiosks in the middle. So I'm not afraid of this place. I've been there when I was sighted. I've been there many times with other friends, other people. So when they took off and went where they wanted to go and I went where I wanted to go, I had a good idea where I was. And I'm not window shopping anymore. I'm just going from destination, point A to point B, and then back to point A and wait for them. But I was content. There was nothing else I was really shopping for at the time. One thing I really suggest is if you have the chance or the opportunity to get a map or a sketch or a blueprint of the mall layout, where are the key stores located and what's in between them, then you can have that as a reference in your mind of where you're going, which direction you want to go and all that. And you can usually find them on the web. Have someone describe it. Use Ira, take some notes on that, and go explore. And I'll leave it with this tip. You never conquer a mall in one visit. So it's an experience that you keep on experiencing, and from there your mental map gets better and better at navigating the inside of a mall.
So you're not really navigating, you're not really window shopping or doing anything, just checking out the mall. You have a place that you're a destination, you go where you need to go, and then you find your bench afterwards and wait for people to come pick you up. Is that basically it? I'm just trying to the reason I bring this up, there was a Twitter question posed and somebody had, tweeted out about GPS apps. And another question they asked was, how do you navigate malls? Is there like an app to make navigating malls easier? And one person replied, about the app that they use when they go out. It's a GPS app. I can't remember the name of it.
Good Maps?
Around Me, or I can't. No, it wasn't Good Maps. Yeah. It was something else, like Around Here or Around Me or something like that. But then the gentleman also quoted regarding the malls. He's like, "Yeah, I just don't. Sorry." And I was just thinking, is that the consensus for a lot of blind people regarding malls? Because even when I had sight, my nearest mall, I would always get lost in this mall. You end up at that place where it says you got like the big display and it says the red dot, you are here, and I'm just trying to figure out where is here because I can't figure it out even when I had sight. So trying to navigate a mall without sight, I just don't know how people do that, or if people actually do it.
It's probably an Ira task.
Is no window shop. There is no, this got your attention, so you ended up there. I went to an Apple store, and like I said on the last podcast, I didn't look around. If I'm alone there, I'm not going to go up to their walls and their shelves or their tables. And
you did almost buy a studio.
Yeah.
No, I
So you did check that out.
I groped a studio.
You didn't even take it out to dinner first. Jeff's rethinking what he said.
That you groped it.
The mall to me is not, unless I'm with a sighted person, it's not interesting at all.
Really?
And I've never gone by myself. It's always with my husband or a friend or something like that. I've never been brave enough. Like when Ira first came out, I was like, I'm going to go shopping all by myself and do so much stuff. But the reality is that it's enjoyable going with my husband or even with my son. And I'm like, hey, do you see any things that you think are cute? They know my style, and I'll put my son on a mission when we're out with him. I'll be like, find all the pink stuff, Mm-hmm. And that keeps him busy usually. And he does usually find some really cute stuff. But especially in the larger department stores, I've learned if you just keep going the same direction, you will eventually find an exit,
Mm-hmm.
But the lighting in there, I just have just enough sight where the lighting throws me off. Like a Nordstrom's, gosh, everything looks the same in there. The flooring doesn't change. It's all this fancy floor, as opposed to a Macy's where it's okay, it's carpeted here, so that's where the displays and stuff are, and it's tile here, but Nordstrom's is all tile. So it's really easy to get lost in a store like that without help.
Years ago, I noticed whenever I go into the big brick and mortar stores, the lighting that they have, just really, it's noisy lighting is to my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I see worse.
And they've gotten darker now too. My Target that I used to work at the Target and navigated just fine without even my cane when I worked there. I remember how Target was: white floors, red counters, very bright lights. They remodeled it and it's this darker, muted floor that doesn't reflect any light off of it. So the whole store just feels darker now, and it's rearranged. And I would never go to that Target by myself now.
Well, it's just like going to a grocery store that you go to all the time. You're more comfortable. But then when someone says, let's try this other store, and you go into it and you're lost because you have no memory.
Because you weren't there before when you could see. Yeah.
There's
Well,
no
I bring it up,
Starbucks.
because my last day at the lighthouse, I was talking with someone and he was telling me how he's traveled, and he was telling about his last trip was to Alaska. And I was very excited because Alaska is on my bucket list. And I'm like, well, tell me about it. How was it? Did you enjoy it? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no. He's like, she's like, I'm blind. I couldn't see anything. And like, it just took the wind out of my sails because I was thinking, but you were in Alaska. And he was just like, he kind of like told me, he's like, Callie, you're going to have to like realize that your life before your blindness is gone. And he's like come to terms with that because, he's been blind for 50 years and you can't try to live in a sighted world when you can't see. His life is not like that. And it just like took really just took the wind out of my sails. I was just like, oh no.
I kick people like that a little bit to the curb a little bit because here's the thing. There's still the company that you're with, the moments that you're creating, the event itself.
Experiences.
Yeah, the journey itself. Yeah, they're all looking at an iceberg with penguins sitting on it or something like that, or seals or, whales and stuff. But you're there. You might hear the sounds. You're taking it in. You understand what's going on. I played Phase 10 with the grandkids, and we brailled the cards all out. And do I love Phase 10? I think it's a long game, but it was really a fun moment, an experience with the kids. Mm-hmm. I liked it. It's an experience that I enjoyed, and I'm visually impaired.
Well, and I remember, Callie, do you remember the video that you sent Jeff and I of the sunrise? Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like although you're obviously visually impaired, and I'm sure you can feel the heat of the sun and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But it sounded like you thoroughly enjoyed that experience because of the company that you were with and the descriptions that were given to you and things like that. And I think that's a big deal. I would say still do your Alaska cruise or your trip or whatever it is you want to do to go to Alaska, and plan on budgeting a little more for Ira if you really want to get some really cool descriptions and things like that. Or be strategic about the company that you bring with you for people who will take that time and explain things to you. I agree with Jeff. Like, you're still going to experience that. I think you'd regret it if you never went because of that. Like, I can't wait to go to Hawaii. I'm not going to be able to see any of the sunrises as clearly as I want to, but I'll be on a beach and I'll hear all these sounds. And I think you're going to hear a lot too. And you're going to experience a lot. Like, you're going to have all kinds of new food that you're trying. Might even go fishing, I remember my vacations by the food I ate. Maybe I'm weird, but like, I just remember like, oh my gosh, remember we were in San Diego and we had that super good, there was a barbecue place in San Diego called That Boy Good. I will never forget it because it was delicious. And that's part of the vacation experience,
Yeah. Well, I'll rethink it because like I said, he took the wind out of my sails after that.
Don't let him do that.
You're going to find that with a lot of people, especially the people who had sight and now don't have it. You fall into that category, and that's where I hear most of that. Some people who have lost their sight slowly over a long period of time have a different speed of adjustment to that, acceptance to it. And so it's going to be unique to you, how you experience this stuff. And I would hate to see you miss out on opportunities. Experience is the best teacher. So go on out there and experience.
Well, this gentleman I'm telling you about, believe me, he is not bitter. He's not sad or anything about his vision loss. He pivoted. When he lost his vision, he was 20 and he was a painter. And he's okay, I can't do that anymore. So he delved. I shouldn't say delved. He dived. He dived into music and composing music and learning how to play the piano and how to write music. So he pivoted because he said, okay, that life is over. What can I do now? And I think that was kind of his point, because I always reminisce about the former job that I had, which was very visual. And that's not going to come back. I'm not going to be able to do that any longer. And I think that's why I've been stuck a lot because of what I had before, where I can't even fathom what's going to interest me in the future.
So, Callie, I know what industry you were in. Were you like an on-site reporter usually? Like, would you guys go to like car accidents? And tell me what you did.
I was totally inside with video. I worked with video. Recording video, setting up video recordings, had to make sure it was shaded correctly, that the hues were good, and making sure our reporters look good on camera, getting in their ear, letting them know who's tossing to them, what the lead in. So I would read to them what the anchor was going to toss to them so they would know and be prepared how they're going to respond to that.
So you were a producer?
No. I worked
Not
with
quite.
the producers. No.
But still very cool.
And I just move video between our affiliates and our network affiliates also, and letting them know what video we had and getting it cut and shipping it off to them.
Well, I do think there's related things to that. Like, obviously, there's quite a bit of visual to color saturation and stuff like that. But like, if news media is like where you like really liked being and in that newsroom, there are more non-visual aspects of that job. And I think people like think sometimes, I'm not saying this is, what you're experiencing, Kelly, but I think sometimes people get in this mindset of like, well, I can't be in that industry at all anymore because I can't do this part of it. But there's so many different, and you would know because you were in that newsroom a lot. There's so many other roles, especially now with more things being online and stuff that aren't as visual and would be able to get some accommodations for. So I encourage you to still have an open mind about that if you really do want to go back to that field sometime.
Thank you for that. But I think that part is done. And I have to like come to the realization of that and move on. I just don't know what it is yet, but it's something that I will figure out.
It's the VR counselor in me. I can't turn it off.
No. It was like and I've never had any VR counseling, to be honest. No one has ever actually sat down. And we go back to Clusiv and they were talking about getting ready for employment, how to do interviews. I haven't had any of that. How to prepare a resume. Because the last time I had a resume was like 38 years ago. So
a lot different now, right?
Yeah, it's a lot different now. And I know that there are things, everything is online and there are keywords that are being searched for before it even sees a human's eyes. So I know it's an entirely different system now. So
it depends on the system too. So like state of Colorado, like the way that ours is done is we do use an applicant tracking system, but it's not like scanned. An actual human reviews every single app to see if you qualify. And then if there's more than 6 people that qualify, structured application reviews done where your application's scored. And in our agency, the people who are scoring the application don't know your name. Like they remove all personally identifiable information. So it's super fair. And ironically, we can't even look at resumes or anything like that. We have to look only at the application to score it.
Really? Well, things have definitely changed.
We're very unique. I'm sure other employers, it's definitely like resume, cover letter, all that stuff, but they're trying to remove any bias from the upfront getting qualified and stuff. And then they also have a disability hiring preference. You get extra, I forget how many points, but some extra points if you're an individual with a disability that applies for a job in our agency. You get extra points for that on your application review. I'm
going to say, I miss the old days where you would actually show up with your resume and you'd meet somebody and they talk to you. This whole AI and everything being scanned, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right for me. Because back in my day, I would go, before I landed my final job, I would go from job to job. You see help wanted ads or something in the store front window, or you see something in the newspaper. You drop your resume by, meet somebody, you get a feel for that person. They would get a feel for you. So I think just a lot can be lost when things are being done technically like that.
Regardless of what you like to remember or what you've experienced.
I know it's not coming back, Jeff. I know.
Right now, a resume that's 2 weeks old is old because the next job may need a different assortment of keywords. You just have to tweak it. We were talking to Sarli Dracos from Australia, and she's a employment coach, a disability employment coach at that. And she said that typically each applicant's resume gets 6 seconds of viewing time. If you know that's the way it is, you have to adapt to that. And we're going to be doing some job insights here, Serena and I and Sarli, coming up here. So stay tuned for that too.
I'm definitely looking forward to that because I did hear that podcast you did with the young lady in Australia, and I gleaned a lot of information from that. And that's when I heard the 6 seconds. I'm like, really? That's what it takes?
Yeah, it's definitely because I did an internship at like a major financial company, and I got to look through their applicant tracking system and stuff. And for their entry level jobs, they get tons and tons of applications, and it was literally just glance through it, see if it looks professional, see if they meet the minimum qualifications, and then pass it on to the recruiter. And then the recruiter would do a phone screening with them. And then if they pass that phone screen, then they'd get invited for an interview. And you wouldn't believe some of the mistakes people make on phone screenings. And so I learned a lot from there.
On phone screen? Okay, I can't wait to hear your next job insights piece. I mean, don't lay out everything here. So leave something for us.
There'll be tons that will.
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
The first topic is starting at the bare basics. Kelly, I think you will like the very first topic because it's something that you've talked about before a little bit.
Okay.
That you didn't receive a lot of. So
okay.
I think you'll like the first topic.
Okay. Something to look forward to. Upload that podcast, Jeff.
Building these type of podcasts with job insights and talking to different people and stuff like that, you have a collaboration that goes on and some professionalism. And I decided to send out the Zoom link through the calendar. I don't know what you call that. What do you call that, Serena?
Calendar invite?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if it was universally called that or anything, but I do have that option. But I did send it out that way, and Serena mentioned that she really likes that. It really helps because it gets put right into the calendar.
Mm-hmm. Everything's in one spot.
So I'm going to start that practice of sending them. And in my correspondence back, I will include a copy of it pasted into the email just in case. Because sometimes people scramble right before the meeting. Like
where's the link?
You're talking about Callie, hint, hint. It was always scrambling before.
And the cool thing about... Everyone knows Serena loves Google. With Google Calendar, there's actually an add-in where when you create the calendar event, it defaults to like a Google Meet link, but you can have an add-in where you can change it to a Zoom link just right there in the calendar invite. So you don't have to go in the Zoom and set it up and then copy paste it into Calendar. You can just do it all right there in Calendar and change it to Zoom link and add the invitees and save it. And it's out there in the world, all nice and neat and pretty with the meeting link and everything.
Mm-hmm. So you're a huge Google Workspace fan, huh?
Oh, I know everything about Google Workspace. I'm such a nerd. I even subscribe to the Google Workspace updates so I can see like the new features that they drop every week. That's why I'm saying like there's always these new features that they're doing. It's so innovative and there's just always new things that they're putting out there to make life easier in the Google world.
Okay.
Charlie sent me a document and it was highlighted some corrections for the show notes. And she sent it by OneDrive, which is a Microsoft-based iCloud type of deal.
Kind of like
Google Drive.
And what's the other one?
Dropbox.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, I couldn't get rid of the highlights. I wanted to use it and cut and paste it and put it into the show notes. And I couldn't get rid of the highlights because it was a Microsoft on the web, which is a little bit trickier. I guess you can download it, but I didn't know that stuff. But I didn't want to let them know that I didn't know how to do that stuff. So I fought and I struggled with it. Finally, on my Mac, I put it into text and stripped it down and brought it back. So I used it. But it just made me start to think that it's time for me to get a PC and get back into JAWS. I used JAWS for 17 years. And maybe not 17, 13 years. And it's time for me to get back to it. Just not leaving the Mac, but to have the ability to use it when I want it, when I need it.
Mm-hmm. I think you're going to be very surprised. I'm not sure how long it's been since you've used JAWS, the types of features that they've added, if it's been, more than maybe 5 or 6 years.
Windows 7.
So it's been a while. JAWS has so many cool features built into it now. You can take an inaccessible document and OCR it right there in JAWS now. So if someone sends you a weird, people are notorious for sending scanned PDFs. Hey, could you take a look at this? Sure. Especially when I was working with clients, they would, send pictures of their schedule or, so that feature came in really handy. The instant OCR, convenient OCR is actually what they call it. There's the picture this where it'll kind of try to tell you what's in a picture. And I think you're going to be shocked with the different features that they have now, especially if you go into Google Workspace.
Yeah. It's I pulled out my MacBook Air today because it's been in a drawer for the past couple of weeks. And I was going through email and doing that whole thing where you get to the email, you open
interact
it, and then you interact. And then when you want to close the window, you have to Command W and then go back. It's just instead of pressing escape, or anything like that. I was like, I don't know if I want to, because I was on the edge. I'm saying I was this close and I've got my thumb and my index finger very close to each other right now to looking at purchasing a new M2 MacBook Air.
I know you were really excited about them when they came out.
I was, but after doing that, I'm I think I'm a PC person now because my workflow just didn't flow as seamlessly as it does with JAWS.
I find that I had to think about what I was doing when I was using the Mac. And I used it for 2 years. And I still felt like I had to stop and say, okay, what am I trying to do? Whereas with JAWS and the PC, I don't find that I'm really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's where I am.
And that's where I am too. I'm at the point where I want one, and I could use Lori's, but you know what it's like when you borrow someone else's computer to learn? You just can't.
The settings are just not the same.
Yeah, you don't want to go in and screw something up.
It's very similar to the Mac. I believe you can do this on the Mac too. You can set up a different account so that you guys can each have a unique login on that PC and have your own settings.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but you know what I mean. If anything ever goes wrong, it's like, what did you do?
Jeff,
what did you do to my computer, Jeff?
I didn't do anything. First thing I always do is I hit the VO key on the PC and it's like, oops.
There's no VO key.
Exactly.
That's the other thing I always thought was weird about Macs is VO key is, I mean, I know you can change it to the caps lock, but I always thought it was weird that the VO key was two keys that you had to push together.
Yeah.
Well, you know, everyone has their thing. What works for people works for them. I don't want to leave the Mac. I'm going to add to my arsenal of tools that I have access to. So I want to get myself a laptop and put JAWS on it and get going on that a little bit, especially for the word processing aspect of it, and to dip into the Google suites, because when you really think about it, that's what they're teaching students in high schools, and
college
now
too.
College is starting to pick up on it more too now. Yeah.
A lot of the high schools are using Google stuff. Google must give K-12 like just an amazing deal because everyone that I worked with, they had Google accounts for school and used Google Docs and all that, and Google Classroom and everything. That might be why, because of Google Classroom, that tool right there. I don't think Microsoft has an equivalent to that. So if you've got Google Classroom and teachers are used to it because it's very simple interface, right there's enough to keep them in that.
It's just like the Macintosh back in the day when Macintosh gave schools computers to use.
I remember we had Apples when we were in late elementary school.
Or like when Pepsi comes in and says, hey, we'll give you these machines free, blah, blah, blah. Your student council can keep the money.
Yep, I remember that too.
They get addicted to it.
And then we switched to Coke a few years later because they paid more. They had cooler machines.
I suggest that anybody out there that's listening to not lock yourself into one platform, one ecosystem, to have the diversity to be able to do one or the other. And with that in mind, I was thinking, wouldn't that be a cool super keyboard that all you had to do is type in what you wanted done and it would transfer it to a PC or a Mac and get it done?
You keep dreaming.
I know.
But I know you bring up about having both systems in your toolbox, but can you become master of both? That's my question to you. Or do you just become an intermediate level on both and you don't become a master of either system?
In the process of me publishing podcasts or doing show notes or doing transcripts, all this stuff, I've become a master at doing that type of thing because that's my daily grind. That's what I do. When it goes into someone says, hey, can you work this out on Excel? I'd have to pause for a minute. When you used to drive to work, you could do it while listening to the radio and checking your text and stuff like that. Because you knew
checking your text, drive safely.
I never did
It's not suggested, but I'm saying you may have
you
done that.
You gotta put a warning on there now.
I never did that.
People get used to what they do. Like when you're traveling from work to home, your mobility skills are pretty good. That's a route travel. You know that down pat. You got it. But when you get off that track, it's exploring. Just like me. When I get off the track on a PC and start doing something I haven't done for a long time, it's going to take me a while. But on the Mac, I can do whatever I want to do.
It won't take you a while because it's intuitive on the PC.
A little bias.
Serena, do you know if Google Docs is accessible or Jeff, do you know if Google is accessible with the MacBook?
They say it is.
They say it is. Okay.
It's a bugger.
When I tried it with the Mac a couple of years ago, I didn't think it was as user-friendly, but that was 2 years ago. It's changed even significantly on the PC. Significantly.
Yeah, I know they do standard view now with JAWS, even though
standard view on Gmail is amazing.
I still only know how to do basic view. That's what I was taught during my time at the Light. They taught us basic view.
If they taught you because there's so many features you can't do in basic. Like if you were actually in a work environment, basic view would slow you down significantly. If you ever do want to learn standard view, I'm happy to sit with you on Zoom and walk through some things. I think your life would be like mind blown. Because Because it's just really quick, like, to compose something, you just hit C and it just works, It's so much easier.
You don't have to Alt
than
C like in Basic View.
No.
And when I want to read a message, the way I was taught in Basic View, I Control F for find and I search for original. And then once I find original, I arrow down and then there's the message there.
I can show you some tricks.
Okay.
If it's working for you now, like, don't knock it. Like, it's fine for personal email use. But if you're in a work environment and you're really trying to knock out emails and get through and do what you need to do and email somebody and have it autofill for you correctly, like, you need standard view.
Okay. And Jeff, I don't even know, did we stay in your outline, dude?
I like it when we don't.
Oh, you do, Serena? You like it?
I really do. I think it feels more natural.
The natural conversation flow.
Well, last time Serena mentioned she had that speaker that she bought.
I love my little Sony speaker.
Well, I was looking them all up, and during the Prime sale, I was looking for a speaker because I gave away 6 Bluetooth speakers to my kid. I just got rid of them because, they were older and...
They're probably outdated.
Not really. They sounded pretty good.
You just wanted to buy something on Prime Day.
No, I just knew because I had them in storage. In a sense, I got the storage of a lot of electronic stuff. And I just looked at them and I was like, wow, I don't even use these. I had the Bose. It was...
The Bose one was nice. Mine stopped working, so that's why I didn't replace that one.
So I got the Bose Soundlink Revolve 2.
That's a bigger one, right?
It's bigger than yours in a sense. It's circular, so it comes out all 360 degrees. It sounds really good. I like it.
How much was it?
Well,
I'm so nosy.
Typically they sell for like $350.
I know. It's like $400 normally.
I got it for about $200.
Okay. It's not bad.
Because I had $30 in my Amazon thing, so that helped too. I was looking for one. And the other thing I was looking for is because my Bowers & Wilkins headphones went out. One
Those
side
are nice
went out.
headphones.
And so I was looking for something that was comparable to them. And I ended up getting the Sony's.
Are they the over-the-air ones?
Yeah.
I think those are the ones we bought Charles for something last year, and he loves them. He likes them better than the Beats because he had Beats in those, and we returned the Beats.
They're the Sony WH-1000XM4s, wireless noise canceling overhead headphones. And they have a mic for phone calls and Alexa voice control. And they sound great. And this is another product that I had on my list of things to get if it goes on sale. Now, these are the 4s. But Sony did just come out with the 5s. Those are running $399. I just checked online and mine are selling for $359. And that just goes to show you, if you put something on a list and then go see what's selling on Prime Day or Black Friday, you might just get what you want instead of buying something you didn't know you actually wanted, but you bought it because you thought it was a great deal. And no, I don't feel bad about not getting the 5s. I got the 4s. And it's just like Apple when they say, this is the greatest ever. And then 6 months later, you go, this is the best machine we ever made. Wait.
Yeah,
it's
not anymore. Please trade this back in for $100 less than what you paid for it just 2 days ago.
No, I'm happy. How about you ladies? Did you dive into the Prime Day sales?
We had a bunch of stuff in our cart because I wanted a new bistro set for our deck because we have a very small deck in the back. So I wanted something small for back there. So we put all this stuff in our cart that we knew we were going to be buying anyways. And none of our stuff was on sale.
Oh, gosh.
The Apple Watches apparently were on sale for $120 off, but I'd rather wait until the next one comes out to get one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It reminds me a few years ago, Jeff, do you remember that SpongeBob meme that I can't remember if you found it or if I found it, but it was like Prime Day and it was SpongeBob chilling with all this junk on his beach towel, just random junk. I feel like that's what Prime Day is sometimes. I really do.
Yeah, it's like a big garage sale.
Yeah.
Warehouse clear out.
Did you shop? Oh, I don't think, Kelly, you don't have Prime anymore. Is that right?
My Prime expires July 26th. So I'm still a Prime member until it expires in July. Well, we're in July.
Did you shop?
I did not. I'm not a shopper. I will buy things when I need them. Mm-hmm. That's just the way that I am. I didn't need anything.
That's the problem with it being in July. I think the same thing. Usually when July rolls around, it's after I would have bought things we needed for summer, to get the yard ready or patio stuff. It's a little too late for that. But then it's not quite for the stuff I need for Trey for back to school or starting to think of holiday gifts and stuff. It's just a weird time. And I think that that's why they have it in July, because retailers hate the summer months because people usually spend less on retail because they're doing vacations, they're, thinking of summer camp and things like that. So I think that's probably strategic on Amazon's part, why it's in July. But we usually just don't need anything around when Prime Day rolls around.
Yeah, I didn't need anything. A lot of my sighted friends on Facebook, they posted they bought a lot of stuff, but I just didn't need it. I looked around, I'm like, there's nothing that I need.
I was also looking for a TV, like a 65-inch, because ours is pretty old and someone said that it's getting fuzzy around the edges or something. I don't know. I was looking for one, but then I thought about it. I always look where it comes from. Ships by Amazon, sold by Amazon. I like that. I like that. And then you get these things like Grand Global.
And they're like refurbished. Or,
what's their address? Sigport 927.
Manufactured. They're usually older TVs. Manufactured in 2019.
They are 2019, or they refurbs or something. And then their policy. And are you going to ship a TV back to like Poland or?
We had to do that once. We bought a TV. I think it was off of Dell, and it shipped to us, and the screen was cracked. Oh. We had to put that TV back in the box and take it to the UPS store and ship it back. It was a pain in the butt.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we've bought some TVs offline, like usually from Best Buy or something.
I'm doing Best Buy.
You know who has a good one usually is Costco. And they don't carry the like lower end ones. So they carry really nice ones, but they're still priced. Like don't do Target, because Target has the same TVs, but they're like a 60 refresh rate, which is not good. But Costco and Best Buy is where we found really good deals usually.
They got the Costco Geek Squad, right?
I don't think so.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so. Once you buy it from Costco, you're on your own. Once you buy it.
Well, that's the thing. I'm going to like Best Buy, or we have a place called Micro Center over here, and those places have their own little Geek Squad.
They'll set it up for you.
Not that, but you return it, and they'll sell refurbished stuff that they repaired as well. Like if you go in there, but they back it.
Oh, Costco backs everything you buy from them.
I'm not afraid of them. That's real. I don't mind boxing something back up and bringing it right to a brick and mortar store, but I despise boxing something up and bringing it to a UPS place.
It's a pain.
You're the only one there. You go in, it's empty. They got you. It's like, what do I bring it over here?
Well, they're not empty anymore because it's like people like my husband taking all our Amazon returns there. The thing about Amazon stuff, and it might be different for a TV, obviously, but you usually don't even have to box them up. Like,
oh yeah, you just set them there. The guy come with a tape, a label, and everything. Like, we got an Amazon store in that mall I was talking about, the Rosedale
Center. Can you
Center.
return them there?
You can bring anything. You can bring. I think you can bring your cardboard boxes there too.
I've heard that they have a recycling program where you get something back for them, but I've never looked into it because I'm just probably not going to do that. We just recycle them in our recycling. I'm not going to take them back to Amazon. Our nearest Amazon store is in Denver. We don't have one like locally, which is weird because we do have a huge Amazon fulfillment center right in our city now. So maybe it's only a matter of time.
We've got like 3 or 4 Amazon fulfillment centers here in South Florida.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, they're just like all over the place. But I want to ask you guys, for your televisions, do you guys have them on the stand or do you hang them on the wall?
Depends on the room.
Really? Because like in my living room, that's where I have my big television. It's a 55 inches more television than I actually need or wanted, but it was the one that I got for my going away. And a part of me wants to put it on the wall because there've been several times I've been walking past it and like nearly knocked it over because like my balance was off or I was like heading in the wrong direction. I was too close to the television stand. I was like, oh,
you bumped it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I just know one day it's just going to come crashing to the floor. But
they usually have these rubber legs on them though that kind of help it.
Here's the thing about putting it on the wall. When you put it on the wall, it only jets out about 4 or 5 inches from the wall. And so anything you put underneath it is going to come out further. So unless you have it designed in a sense where you're going to get your cable.
If it's built in.
Yeah. If it's built into the wall and behind it, that's beautiful designing.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to see the cables. I would want the cables buried.
Right. And so if you have a little entertainment center and set the stand on there, everything's hidden right there.
And that takes some work. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone wants to put it on the wall, but now you got to feed the electricity up to it. Now you got to feed the cable up to it or any type of attachment that you want to, any dongle, any Apple TV, start adding the cable box. Now those cables. So sometimes they have a little track that goes up the wall, 2 inches by 4 inches, and it goes up, blends in real well, but it's still kind of like the electrical ducts that you find in a hospital. You know what I mean? Anyways.
Okay.
And ours, because our house is fairly new, it was built in 2016. So they thought about this. And our family room, there's a fireplace with a mantle, and we technically could mount it, but we bought a TV where it sits perfectly on the mantle. So it's just sitting up there. It's fairly high. I don't know. It's pretty hard to bump into it where it is. And there's an elephant trunk that goes from behind that TV down to our shelving that's on the right-hand side. So all the cords run through that, which for the record was a pain in the butt to feed the cords through.
Oh my gosh.
We had to tie yarn around one end and then suck it through with a vacuum, basically. It's really hard. And then our basement, when we mapped it out, we did the same thing down there. We had a spot where there was a weird kind of alcove. So we put the TV and like the built-ins there. So it also has that one has a PVC pipe. So it's smooth that goes down from where that TV is mounted. And it goes down from there to the right where all the shelving and stuff is.
That sounds good. So obviously mounting it is not going to happen for me. I may just have to like trade it in for like a smaller television.
But if it's a smart TV, then mounting it would work because you don't have anything else going to and from it. If it's a smart TV.
I actually have my Apple TV going to it because sometimes the apps on the Samsung, if there's a update to the apps on the Samsung, I never know what I'm going to get. So, so I always keep the Apple TV plugged into that. And believe it or not, I still have my Blu-ray player and I have that plugged in. I don't even know if there's AD on any of the DVDs that I own because I can't see it. And like the DVD remote, it's got like 30 buttons on it, so I have no idea. So the movies that I own, I know them by heart. So I could just plop a disc in and watch those. So those are the two. And of course, the power cord. And Serena, my old fashioned rabbit ears. Because I just get get my television over the air, my local television.
You don't need the rabbit ears if you have a flat screen. It's got a digital tuner built into it.
No, I do need it. Because if I unplug the rabbit ears, I get nothing.
Wow, that must be a very old TV.
No,
it's weird because they have digital tuners.
You just have to actually from 2020. It's a Samsung.
Yeah, you have to run it through a cycle, if that makes sense, for it to find all the channels. But the digital tuners should be built. That is weird. I am shocked by that.
Yeah, because whenever I unplug the rabbit ears, there's no signal.
I am so surprised by that.
There is no signal.
Did they really call it the elephant trunk?
It really is called an elephant trunk. Yes.
Does it look like an elephant trunk? Is it like an elephant head and like a trunk? Really?
No, it's like the trunk because it's corrugated, I think is what the word is. So it's how the elephants have like the ridges,
I guess. Peanut shells near the floor.
That's the piece that's back there. It's literally like kind of like an HVAC thing. It's definitely ridges, and that's what makes it so hard to get the cord through. That's what they called it, an elephant trunk, though.
Yeah, cord management is a struggle. I don't have a lot of tech, but where my television sits, in the back of it, it's like a mess. You've got like the television plug. You've got the Apple TV plug. You've got the Sony DVD, Blu-ray player plug. I've got the Comcast router plug. I've got my Wi-Fi. It's a mess.
And it's all dusty.
Yeah, and I wish I could get a handle on it.
I think we went off the show notes. I'm just guessing, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. We only went just a teensy bit.
No, the only thing we did was like Clusiv and
Zoom.
Dust bunnies, rabbit ears.
And I did not.
Hey, there's your title: Bunnies, Elephants, and Rabbits.
Yeah. Oh
there
my!
You go. Oh my!
Serena,
Jeffrey,
amphitheater.
I told you it wasn't AMPA.
It's AMPHITHEATER.
Yeah, AMPA.
Amphitheater.
I thought it was AMPA, like AMPA.
Oh,
for the longest.
AMPA. Amphitheater.
AMPA. That's why I said theater multiple times when I was talking about amphitheater. Because it's very difficult for me to say.
It's easy to say. Once you know that, it's easy to say. It's a PH sound, so it's amphitheater.
Yeah, amphitheater. It's just, seriously, you guys, my whole life. This happens to me all the time when you don't physically see words. I always think things are different sometimes.
Sarly.
She'll smile when she hears that.
Kelly Gray.
Yes, sir.
I hope Miami recalls all the heat they've been losing because we got it all up here. So take it back.
Looking forward to it, Jeff. Looking forward to a cool down this weekend. Mid to high 80s. Thumbs up down here.
Ironically, it's going to be like 99 on Saturday in Colorado Springs.
Oh my God.
They're saying we might break a record for the hottest day ever, which would be if we hit 101.
Ever.
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 That's what the weatherman said. Ever. Matt Meister said ever.
Is that KMGH or KUSA? Or
KXRN.
Okay.
And this is Tech Abilities. And from all of us here.
Bada.
TABA. Oh, yeah. Beta. BATA.
Bada.
Bada.
Bada bing.
Bada bing.
Oh, bada bing. I like it.
Oh, Serena.
That might stick.
Look. And from all of us here at Bada Bing, that's BATA. I like that.
It has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I came up with that, didn't I?
No.
Of course. Yep. There's no evidence to the
I'm
contrary.
a witness.
And then cue our funky music, right?
And for more podcasts with the blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities, and give us a call at 612-367-6093. Leave us a message and let us know if we can put your voice on the next podcast. Drop us an email at info@blindabilities.com and download the free Blind Abilities app from the App Store and Google Play Store. That's 2 words, Blind Abilities. And from all of us here at Blind Abilities, through these challenging times, to you, your family, and friends, stay well, stay informed, and stay strong. I want to thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. And until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the reality
of blind abilities.
The realities of blind
abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities, download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.